So what do you do at quarterback now for the 49ers? Jimmy Garoppolo played. Presumably, Trey Lance will only be healthier from that knee sprain. He has played against the Arizona Cardinals. Jimmy played well. Like that was Jimmy Garoppolo when Jimmy Garoppolo is playing his good football. That's not Jimmy. I'm not saying Jimmy Garoppolo turned some corner or look out now. The whole conversation changes, but that is what he looks like when he plays well.
Well, what about the 7 Trey Lance plays today against the Bears? Oh, wait,
didn't get him.
Didn't happen.
No,
so he didn't play.
I think we'll get him next week, though. I do think we'll get him against the Cardinals.
I don't know if I could say that.
Hey, we're glad you're watching this video. Subscribe to this channel and give the video a like. We appreciate it.
Yeah, 55% of you are watching this and are not subscribed, so make sure you do that, as well as do our podcast below in the description. Because I think Kyle has shown now that 2 quarterback thing that we saw once upon a time. Now, maybe he'll do a play or two.
Yeah.
But if Jimmy, like today, I think you saw both sides of Jimmy. There were several drops. But some of those drops are because they're not exactly hitting the guy in the numbers. They have to reach. And some of his 17 completions are fantastic catches from like Sanu leaping like he's Tracy McGrady in the air or Debo making a play out of his ass. So he is an inaccurate quarterback. And when I say inaccurate, I don't mean like, one of the worst quarterbacks of all time. He just throws it in the vicinity, but you have to make a play. Now, he also sometimes hits a guy in stride, but more often than not, he misses high. And I think it's also why, if you just look at some of Jimmy's picks, it goes off guys' fingers and the tips and overthrows and it's picked behind him, right? Now, he's throwing picks to guys, but yeah, Jimmy, a couple plays in the red zone, they call his number, he's athletic enough, he runs it in. But, like, I don't come away because I think it's like, oh, Jimmy threw for 322 yards. Well, like you said, 83 yards of that are off a play that Debo made, and he gets all the credit. That's just part of the way the game is. I mean, Mahomes has gotten a lot of touchdowns on the push pass. It's the way the game is statistically, accounted for. But, like, yeah, it was for Jimmy, that was as good as he's played since 2019. But I still think when you really go for the context of the game, there were several throws, drops, and catches that are just kind of hold on to your ass for that are a little high, and that's just his game. He misses high. Like, he misses high, which to me is scary against better teams. You were able to avoid it, but it's just something that I am not, like, come away just think that Jimmy is just some savior now and he's got his groove back,
No, I think Trey's still very much on the table. Now, to your point about how much does Trey play next week, if I were going to agree with you, watch a game, and as you're watching the game, try to figure out where to put Trey Lance in. Like, if you watch that Bears game today and watched it with in your mind, let's see if we can get Trey Lance a series. It's really hard to find a spot, right? Because it's like, all right, the Bears score, it's a 1-score game, so what do you do here? Do you do it here, down a score, when you feel like you can get down the field? If you do it and you fail, then they get the ball and score. Now you're down 2 because you tried to work them in. It's hard. You take a lead, you're like, well, I don't want him to throw a pick, so I can't do it there. So I agree with you. It's way easier in theory than in practice to say, I'm going to work this other quarterback into the game.
Do you also think with the drops, it evened out with some of the great plays that some of his wide receivers make from high pointing the ball?
I don't know.
They have to leap off the ground.
No, I know they do. I do think part of the job of the receiver is you just have to have the best teams in the league have receivers that go catch the ball that doesn't hit them between the numbers. So when you've got a big third down play and you drop it because it's high, but you get both hands, like it just is a drop. Like, a drop.
I'm not saying a drop.
Like, not saying a drop
is on Jimmy. Yeah.
No, I know.
It's got to be caught.
I just think if we watched a team that won 11 games every day, 17 weeks, they would just, part of winning those games is someone just makes a catch that's like, damn, multiple times in the course of a game. You just have to have it.
I agree.
You have to have it. And so I mean, I just think that happens all over the league. Like, yeah, Jimmy does miss high. It is just part of it. Just happens a lot.
He's just not that accurate. I mean, it's just not.
No. But I did think it was one of his better games. It didn't change anything. Like, I do think one thing with him, he does have a really good feel in the pocket. He does. And he today, like the ball where Debo was coming, the touchdown run where Debo's coming across, clearly something was, Greg Olsen said he thought the ball was supposed to be snapped. It didn't get snapped. And so Jimmy kind of stops Debo in motion, just takes the snap, runs it himself. He does have a feel for those things.
I'm not trying to shit on Jimmy, but you better have a pocket presence if you're not going to be the most accurate guy, right?
Well, yeah, but most guys don't. Like that, to me, the pocket presence and the release is part of what, at his best, makes him like, a 15 to 20 range quarterback.
You can win
Like,
games.
those are his strengths. Those are things that he does better than other average quarterbacks.
Today was his best game by far, pushing the ball down the field and being accurate, like in the guy's vicinity of hitting them, right, and giving them the ability to make plays. Like the Debo bomb, that was probably the best throw he's had in 3 years, right, since 2019. A 40, 50-yard pass hits the guy in stride. You never see it. And he had several other ones, not quite like that, but it was that he has not had very recently.
I spoke to a former Patriots player last night, John. I said, "What, Jimmy, tell me." He goes, "I wasn't there when that story that Michael Bennett told." He's like, "Knowing Jimmy, that would surprise me." Those were his words.
He played with Jimmy.
Play with Jimmy, knows Jimmy. He says, knowing Jimmy, he's like, he's just a good dude. He's like, that would surprise me if Jimmy did that. But anyway, whatever. That's not the debate here. He's not getting traded. He's not getting traded by two. I mean, this is not about trade value anymore. I don't want to hear about trade value.
Well, it doesn't exist. No one has the money to take it.
I don't want to talk about it. But I do think now they're 3-4. They try and get to 4-4, and you're right. It's a lot harder to work Trey Lance in. If I told you this, actually, I'm not going to say that. Here's the other conversation.
If he's healthy, Jimmy's starting these next 2 games.
Yeah, here's the other conversation I'm not going to have, even though I almost just started it. Here's the hypothetical that I'm going to say we can't have this conversation, but here's the example. If you get that Jimmy every week, how many games can you win? No, but you don't get that every week. That's part of this, is you don't get that every week, right? No. That's part of the kind of the roller coaster. But I mean, if they're
I'll give you one. If you get Colt McCoy, Jimmy, you have the better quarterback in the game, right? So next week you get a game at home with the better quarterback in the game. Then the following week it gets a little more difficult. But we'll just live in the present. You win that game, all of a sudden you're 4-4.
They play San Diego State the next week?
No, they play Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams of Los Angeles,
who are just a machine. I mean, I know they played the Texans today, but
yeah, they're pretty good.
Trade for Deshaun, John?
I think Deshaun's got maybe a little false sense of where he's at in his career, so no, I would say no on that one.
As Zark on YouTube says, you don't play the worst defense in the league every week. That's the facts, Jax.
Yeah,
that's the fact. The question is,
Arizona's defense is a lot better, right?
Yeah, but sometimes the way no doubt.
But here's the way that, and listen, I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves, but the way that you just beat the Bears is how you beat what the Packers did, run it down their throat. It's what the Niners and the Rams have done over the last couple of years to give Cliff Kingsbury problems. You out-physical them at the point of attack. And one guy that's going to be missing that will help Jimmy and who killed McGlinchey last time, and it's those quotes that Lynch had that kind of became polarizing a couple weeks ago about Brandon Ayuk. On that same interview, he talked about, that was a bad McGlinchey game because J.J. Watt kicked his ass. Well, J.J. Watt's shoulder fell off, which sucks. I mean, the guy has had just devastating injuries for just an all-time great. If J.J. Watt had Aaron Donald's run of health, for 10 years, I mean, we're talking about one of the top 5 defensive linemen ever, but he just can't stay on the field. And the Niners, they benefit from that. So Jimmy then benefits from that. And then the Niners run game benefits from that. And then all of a sudden you can run it like the Packers just did. You can then just make some plays. You got to be able to run it against them. Now, part of running it against them keeps Kyler off the field. That changed a little bit with Colt, who honestly, I can't even remember the last time I watched Colt McCoy play in the National Football League.
Had to be WFT, right? Let's take a moment to tell you to go to overland.com/ham and get in some well-made, beautifully crafted, and very comfortable slippers.
And do you guys want to win money like Guy and I have been doing for about the last month? Just go to mybookie.ag, promo code HAM and the number 1. Get your gamble on. Yeah, but I didn't watch those games. So, I mean, me actually sitting there and watching Colt McCoy play, it's what we always talk about. Colt McCoy has an incredible job. He's going to meet people how long you play in the NFL? He's 13 years. The problem is that whatever that number ends the moment you have to play 4 or 5 years, and Steve Keim goes, we can't have this guy as our backup because we can't win games. If he's just a disaster. And listen, more often than not, Colt McCoy in that situation, is pretty putrid. Like, I'm not saying him, but I'm just saying like that human being that you never see play and just is able to like, how did he play for so long without ever playing? Because you just are able to kind of fool and have the coaches like you.
I guess
Now, maybe
the
he's
question
better
with
than I'm
them,
giving him credit for. I don't know.
yeah, I
We're
mean,
gonna find
look,
out.
when they're healthy, like DeAndre Hopkins limped off a couple of times last week on
Bad
Thursday
hammy. Yeah.
with the hammy, and if they're healthy, they do have enough. Or Chase Edmonds looks like I tweeted out like I googled he went to Fordham several weeks ago, and I went and looked at his college numbers as I was watching Thursday Night Football. He scored in his first 3 years at Fordham in the Patriot League or wherever Fordham plays in, 69 touchdowns in 3 years. 60 and I tweeted that, and I had a bunch of like Patriot League like assistant coaches tweeting in my time. I'm like, always knew Chase Edmonds, because I was like, this guy was just murdering future like Georgetown grads who were getting ready to go work at Wall Street. Like, there's so many people that played against Chase Edmonds who never sniffed the NFL, and he looks like that. It's like Elijah Mitchell going from Louisiana Lafayette to the NFL. I mean, he's killing people. So like, they do have enough around there. They know what they're doing. Obviously, as a team, they've got some other good players on defense. I think
Rondale Moore's really good.
Rondale Moore's very good. Like, you are going to need Kittle, and you're going to need Ayuk again. Like, I think with Ayuk, it's about let's just stack and then stack another, to the point that we're just not talking about him. Kyle's not getting asked about him. He's not getting asked about it. And he can just kind of have a normal rest of the year. That's what I want from Brandon Ayuk. Just have a normal rest of the year. But to me, it's first and foremost about Kittle this week. And not having J.J. Watt maybe means that you can get Kittle out a little bit and throw the football. And it's not so much, not that Kittle's blocking J.J. Watt necessarily, but just the trickle-down effect of not having J.J. Watt, John, maybe means that you can throw the ball to Kittle more. Because at times when Kittle's been on the field, you had to use him as a blocker so much. So maybe that's the trickle-down effect of no JJ, and that would be a big deal for the Niners. Just to find some balance, because even today it was like Elijah was running the ball, and we'll get to Debo, but it was like playing Madden. We just throw it to Debo every time, throw it to like Drake London at SC, throw the ball to him 20 times. He got hurt, and he got hurt because that happens when you touch the ball 20 times a game. Something's going to happen to you. Odds are just a lot of times touch the ball. Not because you break down, you're just putting yourself in harm's way a lot. So
I know.